Are you guys ready?
Yeah. Just got to kind of throw it on here. Sort of ready. Sup.
Sort of
Glad
ready.
I was standing.
I'm
Do love
the
that.
skins as well. All the Ramacha owl skins look absolutely fantastic. Like Ramacha's such a good hero design, and the recolors there.
They really do.
So good.
How much Ramacha do you see or expect to see right now anyway with the teams playing in the Pro-Am?
Not much from these two teams in particular. We've got Donghak in, who's, as far as I'm away from the law, a little bit of a ball specialist. And in terms of power level, Ramacha's kind of just not as good as Ryan. So if Hardy ever has the opportunity to play that, he's like, well, I'm the Ryan guy, man. Why would I be playing Ramacha? I think from other teams, it's going to be far more likely. Like we saw a little bit from Junbin, probably going to see a little bit from Max. And I think that it's definitely going to be a thing that other teams do. Like we're very much in the Ryan side. And Twisted Minds, the team coming out of EMEA from Contenders, is definitely going to be one where you're going to see quite a bit of Ramacha because they have an off-tank specialist, KSA, previously of the Vancouver Titans, as you guys cast a couple of years ago. More of an off-tank specialist. He's going to be playing the Ramacha instead of a Reinhardt in many cases, kind of like the opposite of Hardy. Like, we don't do that Ryan stuff here.
I think that's an important thing to take note of as well, is like off-tank players, a lot of these teams are only going with one tank and prefer that off-tank. They're going to lean on that Ramacha, as Legday just said. So, you know, we saw a little bit over the shock, which was, you know, surprising to me, but I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, someone tries to pull it out against these Reinhardt specialist teams like Hardy, because you know you're not going to win that Ryan duel, because Hardy's just crazy like that.
Yeah, it's just that Ryan guy, right? And now one of the players that we got to highlight in the pre-show, thanks to Costa, because it's just his favorite, is of course Lip. We have some highlights from them. How scary does that Atlanta roster look to you, Lemon and Leg?
At least for me, they're looking like an easily top 3 team, championship level players. Especially Lip was one of the biggest pickups. I'm glad my voice isn't echoing through because I saw this highlight earlier. Definitely was one of the best Sojourns from last season. I think overall, Atlanta Reign, their style, I think, is what is going to bring them a lot of success. Behind Hawk, in that case, playing a lot of Doomfist, was known as probably the best Doomfist alongside Dante. And I think if Hadi and friends stick to kind of this Ryan brawl, it's just compositionally not going to be the best matchup. We've seen a lot of, even from the Pro-Am qualifiers, Doomfist teams, dive teams, if they can split up the brawl, it's going to be best.
What about you, Legday? How high up do you have that Atlanta Reign squad?
When it comes to the scariness that you talked about before, I'm quaking in my wee booties, to be honest. This team is legitimately terrifying. I'm gonna put out a bold statement here that Custom might actually be familiar with as a former teammate. I think Stalker has the best mechanical tracking I've seen on any player since Bunny. I think Bunny had some legendary tracking, was one of the best to ever do it. I think Stalker, honestly, is up there. The first time I saw this guy play in Korean Contenders, I was like, whoa, that looks illegal. That does not look like a legal maneuver of the crosshair right there. And Stalker, as it has been in basically every competitive Overwatch kind of meta we've ever seen, like, there's always a room for Tracer, right? And when there's room for Tracer, you have to think about the dynamics of the Tracer duel. Vigilante is a fantastic Zen, and Zen Tracer often are going to be the ones to control those flanks. I think Stalker is going to be a very hard person to beat out on that flank, and that's always going to give Reign a trump card. So, it's risky, but I'm going to go top 1 right now.
Top 1.
All right.
Their favorites to win the tournament.
I like it.
Wow.
Okay, Costa, but like you completely bought into the Atlanta scrim bugs as well, right? But maybe walk us through it for people who are not following all the scrim leaks and whatnot. What about the Atlanta Reign makes them so scary? Why are they considered a top 1 team? Is that individual play? Is it insane team cohesion and understanding of the meta, or just everything?
It's easy. We have just talked about how great this team is, and we haven't mentioned Chio and Fielder, the championship-winning backline from the Dallas Fuel, now on this team. We haven't talked about Vigilante.
I actually can't believe that they just got snacked up. Like,
just snacked up.
how are they even available?
What a steal!
Yeah, hey,
Honestly.
anything's possible when you start acquiring players. And this Atlanta Reign squad is just, on paper, is that top 1 team that Leg Day just said. They have that potential to be able to just match any other team in terms of mechanics. Where everyone's questions were coming for Atlanta Reign was, how is this going to work with Hawk in the lineup as the solo Western player on that tank role? And then, you know, Gator stepping away from being a player and becoming the head coach of this team. How is that all going to gel? We're going to have to find out in this first match. But from what we've seen of them so far, it looks good.
If we got a moment,
Would you guys
I'd like
have
to
liked to see more changes for that London squad? Because, I mean, they did turn it up a little bit more towards the end of the season. They kind of found their stride. Would you have liked to see more drastic changes, or do you feel like it was a good move for them to just kind of stick to what they had?
On the London roster, yeah, like, they had some good synergy. And I think that they've basically been filling in holes, right? Like, we've seen a second flex support come in, so we don't have to deal with Boneback again. Even though Boneback obviously was in our highlight reel, he's a big boy, he's pretty good at the Zen, but when you have Backbone being the one playing your Zen, it very much limits your options in those metas to removing a good amount of the projectile heroes that Backbone is best known for. So I think that these have been very, they've been very measured and targeted pickups. And I think that London don't really want to mess with a good thing, because the fundamental Overwatch they play is super strong. And what London might be looking for here is just to be able to exploit the mistakes that other less drilled teams make.
Anyone else? Nothing? That's it?
I was waiting for you. What's going on there?
Sorry, I did all the analysis ever. There will be no further analysis. Like there's one analysis.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the compliments to the chef, right? Like, you said it all. There was absolutely nothing to add there. I didn't want to be rude and jump in. I mean, obviously, we're stalling a little bit. We're not keeping the game hostage. So let's keep on talking a little bit about Pro-Am in general. Obviously, it's super exciting for everyone watching right now to see contenders teams going up against OWL teams. It's a tale as old as time where every contenders fan just keeps on saying, like, you know, like, that contenders team could totally beat the lower half of the OWL teams for sure. Like, it's not a problem. They easily got it. Now they can come here and prove it. Which of those contenders teams do you see having a really good, realistic chance of snatching one, or snatching? That's like, I keep on saying snacking today. I'm hungry also. Snatching one of those top 2 spots.
At least for me, I think Saints, I mean, obviously the #1 team and all that, but their group 2 looking weird. I mean, the Valiant roster we only got to just kind of look at today once that got revealed, and Vegas Eternal are not looking super strong. And I think seeing this match today will also give an idea of what London have cooked up. I mean, they're starting with the same roster as last season. I would have loved to see Lethal. That was a player I'm really hyped about. Came from Redbird Esports, been around the scene for a long time, fills in that tracer role that Sparker and friends needed. So looks like our game is ready though. No more stalling, guys.
Exactly. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Lemon Leg. Enjoy this one. We see you on the other side.
Okay. Well, Ilios will be our first map, and like to continue my point, you and I have casted Lethal for so many years, and he's a huge highlight on every team he's been on. He'll be kind of a substitute from here on out, and we'll see how he'll be incorporated in the rest of the season. But it makes sense for London to stick to the pieces and stick to what they know, as you said.
Yeah, unfortunately, what they know very well is Reinhardt, and Reinhardt's not fantastic on well. It's a very inefficient point for Reinhardt to try and rotate around due to that big old murder hole in the middle. So we're going to see Hardy show off a bit of flexibility here. Of course, no other tanks on London Spitfire, so it's the same tale again that we told for Florida Mayhem in our previous round. These tanks have their preferred heroes, but they also have to build up a roster of some geographically dependent heroes like Winston alongside the Reinhardts and the Sigmas to make sure that their map pool is not constrained by the single tank they have. Donghak coming out here on the Winston as well, and Lip. Oh, this is what we've come to expect. Lip Sombra, legendary for a couple of years. Now even more damage, even stronger. That means more EMPs and more danger from a hyper aimer like Lip.
And interesting to see the Reaper from Backbone, and I mean, this was the meta they left off with from their playoff run, ending in top 6, and just not a lot of expectations from London last season, and then they beat those, and it's about London just meeting that same performance, and the Kitsune Rush and Reaper just pair up so well of how much damage you can really pump out and catching these dives. The point is unlocked, so looks like Atlanta Reign are postured to capture that first.
Oh, what a diver from London Spitfire. They managed to isolate and find Vigilante, and now while Atlanta Reign are in control... No way. There's no way.
Well...
Who needs heals? Who needs heals?
Well, we also need the point. It looks like London will go back to capture that. The pulse on the Hottie will remove the armor. Yeah, it's the easiest target to hit, but boy's got a lot of health, we think. But Landon is down for the count. That means London just barely have any heals, so the flip was not successful.
Yeah, Lip managing to do a lot of damage there to try and rescue that. Backbone definitely should have been able to live for longer, but hey, sometimes the heals just aren't where they need to be. Admiral got a significant lead here on the sound barrier. He's able to duel the flankers a lot more because the uptime of Stalker and Lip is quite high.
Now London go towards the mini pack. Their backline getting pressured a bit by Stalker. As London just wait for the Kitsune Rush. They've already had to use Suzu, not ideal, it's pretty long cooldown. Lip in the backline is getting Megas hacked up, ready to unleash with the EMP, and the Kitsune Rush was enough to zone out Atlanta Reign, and no kills follow up. Atlanta Reign's disengage was just that strong as they wait for the EMP to strike. Lip unleashes and takes a ton of damage, falls over. Admiral activates the sound bear right after to counter it as Donghak gets nanoed, has to use the primal, just taking so much damage. But it's a 4v4 unless Lip gets back anytime sooner than Sparker. Donghak is going in. Hottie's primaling on the other side. Stomps on Admiral like a bug. We still have London in control, but really for how long? Atlanta Reign just finishing off these last couple kills, and it'll be 54 for Atlanta.
Donghak just turned Admiral into Estonia's most 2D man, absolutely squishing him. Backbone, though, with the Death Blossom, how can this be dealt with? You can hack it from Lip, but the range is a little bit here and there, and you can boop it with Cheer. The sleep is also going to be good to try and constrain that. Atlanta Reign, they need to make sure that these early resources are burned.
That's an early resource. Just a great bubble from Donghak to just separate all of London, but just overstayed his welcome a bit, being the first to go down. You trade that with Sparker. 4v4. Atlanta have the point, 85% plus. As London head over for the last fight. Unless they can win it and go all the way and make a big turnaround. They almost caught Chio, and you need Chio for that sound barrier. So he'll return and try to stack up on his team. Stalker chases down Hottie, and you don't have that initiative. There's a sound barrier of Chio, 5v4, Kitsune Rush from London pulling out all the stops, and really no DPS ultimates until now, and Backbone's Death Blossom is out of range, and so are the rest of London, as Atlanta will take the first round.
London's ability to control the off angles here is severely limited. In our chat with a desk before this, Lemon, I was talking about how Stalker is going to be very hard to match on the off angle, but the off angle's free. If there's no Tracer, you can't expect the Sojourn to take that duel. You can't expect the Reaper to take that duel. The Reaper's never going to win that duel. He just can't control the spacing of the fight well enough to make that happen. And now it kind of falls to Admiral to make that happen, but it also means that there's so much freedom for Lip to try and set up as well, and that means that Donghak calls the 3-2-1 go. The incoming damage is going to be immense, and the ability to react to that is basically like you use your Suzu, you use your Winston bubble, and then if someone still dies, well, the fight's over, and if everyone lives, well, now the fight's stalled, because you've got to wait for that Suzu to be back up. You've got to wait for the Winston bubble to be back up. Howdy can't jump in without a Winston bubble. We'll get eviscerated. And all of this happens at a very safe range from Fielder on the Ana as well, or Vigilante on the Ana, because it allows for just some sniping heals to come in, maybe a set nade, and Atlanta, given all this mobility that they have, is consistently able to control the pace of play.
Going back in after this unpause, yeah, I gotta agree that Atlanta's mobility is what was truly successful in that last one. The way that they were disengaging from every Kitsune Rush that London pulled out, every ultimate it seems like London threw out, just never got them really a fight win. Even Spark at the end died with the overclock. So we go to Lighthouse, where I feel like this Reaper's gonna be a lot stronger too if London decide to want to play on the point. but I imagine it's going to be the battle of high ground. Stalker probably going to teleport them further up, go to the Tracer, and have a double flanker set up for Atlanta.
A double flanker, certainly going to be where Atlanta Reign is going to get a lot of value, especially in the early season. I'm not sure what kind of patching we might see before our first big tournament, but Stalker and Lip going to be incredibly difficult to match here. Spark actually moving over now onto the Cassie does give him a better way to duel Stalker and force him out.
Yeah, Hadi used the bubble so early, just in the middle of the map, and had to jump back. Landon is 1 HP. They can't afford to lose him. He might not even be involved in this fight. No, he's been hunted down by Stalker. And just the heals got disrupted from London, so the rest of the pieces will fall. And Atlanta just knew how to be patient and wait for London to just get out of the middle of the map and follow them after like a shadow.
One of the weaknesses of London's comp here is that it's very cyclical, reliant upon the amp it up cooldown from Admiral. Because think about how Backbone and Sparker need to try and take angles using that speed to get on top of Vigilante or to chase down Donghak after an engagement that Donghak doesn't control. But that also means that Admiral doesn't have the amp it up often to try and heal up Landon. And that means that Landon is incredibly vulnerable and has to burn the Suzu early. Sustained pressure will destroy it.
Poles, special delivery, well, it didn't hit either way. Backbone's been hacked, but Atlanta Reign just are trying to separate this stack, not really fight into it, as you have Sparker just randomly shooting from the point, catches Lip. London are very good at commanding kind of this middle part of the map. Atlanta Reign are just trying so desperately to divide and to conquer. So you have the London Spitfire flipping over the point at 47 to Atlanta Reign. But Atlanta are very good at playing patient. Now it's the EMP, and Alicia's on the point. All 5 are hit. Landon first to die. And no heals and no sound barrier in desperation, as London will choose to give this up willingly.
And Lip knowing his spacing so well there doesn't translocate out with 6 HP. Just like, yep, this is fine. Bleeding, one of his arms is hanging off. Yeah, tis but a flesh wound. I'll walk it off. London Spitfire didn't even get the chance to respond to any of those ultimates with their own, but now they can truly bully out the point if they want. 2-man sound barrier, huh?
Oh. Wonder if that got kind of split up by a bubble from Hadi. At least Vigilante is dead and Chio is low. London are just gonna send it to the point to get the flip as soon as possible, but they lost Landon during the cross. Sparker double kill. Sick to see. Does Atlanta choose to give this up? And London have quite a hustling to do to catch up and score.
All right, everyone, mark their calendars for the first time. That's one of the sound barriers of all time. The first time we're going to use that this season. And Chio not going to be happy with that one. Stalker looking for a way to move in with the bomb, but of course we once again have to talk about the Suzu dynamic. Landon thinking about having to save that, and now there's pressure on the point that's going to make Hadi miss position, and that means there's an open backline.
Oh, did that hit? No, okay. So Sparker, I mean, he's been hitting his shots today, like headshots like crazy. And London not too worried about the point. Yeah, that's the beauty of running this double flanker of Atlanta, is you can have presence on multiple points of the map, but not enough to really dissuade London's attention as the score begins to close.
Hadi also responded super quickly to that dive, maybe a mistiming on Atlanta Reign to have given him time to get that cooldown back. And now Hadi's just going to be able to dance in and out to contest, as there's going to be pressure coming from the back, trying to force out that primal early, potentially.
Now Kitsune Rush available from Landon as Atlanta get the flip, and Backbone is maybe trying to contest and paid the price. So London may want to absolutely wait for Backbone for this Kitsune Rush. He's going to be the true star in that moment. And we're coming down to the final fight. Atlanta Reign looking to take Ilios. Donghak's been nanoed, and they want to get on London before they can even be ready. The Kitsune Rush is unleashed. Landon teleports out, but Backbone nowhere to be found. No DPS from London. They have all the support ultimates in the world for London, but do they have the damage? At least getting rid of Flip is one step. Equation. Atlanta Reign able to clutch up against the 3 or 2 remaining of London. Overtime goes away, and Ilios will take Atlanta will take map 1.
What a brutal setup on top of on top of Sparkavera, so hitting the ante, using the Nano Winston to force out that Kitsune rush so that it could have been used on the point where the contest was super needed. And honestly, this was such a quiet game from Backbone. Playing the Reaper, but never really being able to find Donghack, was mostly able to get his actual, he was most able to get his actual damage onto the Ana using some TPs, but very much limited usefulness from the Death Blossoms as well. So I wonder if it's going to be something that London augment in the future.
Here's some highlights from the match. Atlanta Reign taking the map as expected. And you know, you depended on the synergy for London. The Kitsune rushes and Backbone just didn't seem like it connected. It wasn't that guaranteed fight win that you expected to see from such a powerful ultimate. And Hadi, at least, you know, he's a great Winston, entertaining, but just not enough to make that much of an impact against the double flankers, which felt like were surrounding London and picking them apart before they could even be ready.
Well, I'm ready, Lemon, for this break.
Map 2 ready to go between London and Atlanta. And at least how map 1 went is to our expectations. Atlanta are looking like a top 3, I guess top 1, as you said, team in the league. But Kings Row's next,
baby.
like Kings Row is next. I know that's your like hometown and all, but I think it's London's hometown too if they want to go back to the brawl.
Yeah, all of us, like I said, of old Blighty, we belong on Kings Row, and London most certainly do. This is where the Reinhardt can be forced in basically any meta in history. So why wouldn't London want to go here? You can very much limit the flank routes, and you can check them much easier with a Lucio, I believe, on this map, because a lot of them have narrow corridors, especially on first point. You can very much constrain the movement of someone like Stalker, someone like Lip, via Admiral, who's going to be permanently on Lucio here to keep Huddy running around at the speed of sound. He's got places to go. Don't know if he's going to be following any rainbows there.
The rainbow back home. Oh, double rainbow. That's a throwback video. I don't know if people are old enough to remember that, but yeah.
Don't worry, my throwback went back further.
I'm excited for the Brawl of London. It's a true throwback. Really, the different versions of Brawl we've seen, at least from the Pro-Am qualifier, have been either around the Cassidy or the Bastion. I touched upon this when Proper pulled out the Bastion with a Shock's Brawl. And it's that Bastion is a glass canyon, does insane amounts of damage in that tank configuration, but mostly useless outside of it, and, you know, there's no utility healing that he used to have and stuff like that. But Cassidy, Magnetic Grenade, huge for these Tracers that could be dueling you, just staying close to the team, but you can also take off angles with at least a tumble that you can use. So I like Sparker going to that. He's been a hit scan that they can depend on, at least until Lethal shows up.
Ooh.
Either way, London have the Brawl on defense ready to go.
I love this Hanzo, but this drags us back to the debate we had on desk. Well, not really a debate. We were making the point that off-tanks are going to prefer, when they go up against the Reinhardt, playing the Ram. It's a lot more to their skill set. That's a wall that is going to force out Nemesis form from Hawk, so a major resource now missing, Lemon.
Oh, the shield is broken too. Hottie eviscerated. As you can have this first cap begin. Once your Reinhardt is dead, there's just no chance of anyone behind it surviving. And you tried to run as fast as you can. Admiral just left everyone behind. The taxi has left the station. And Atlanta, that's a quick take.
You know, one of the things that's interesting about the Reinhardt matchup here is that the Ramatra really messes with the calculus for Rein's survival that's been ingrained into so many Reinhardt players. Because his pummeling punches actually go through barrier, he can actually run down a Reinhardt who's at a disadvantage without having to worry about any of the defensive cooldowns that Reinhardt really has. And that might be a little bit of a confusing time for quite a few players on the Rein.
And Lip's access to the high ground is going to be big, especially for point C if he sticks to that. Dragon Strike, big to isolate these fights too. First Mei walls come up. I'm surprised we didn't see the Hawk Doomfizz, but I felt like the Hawk Doomfizz was so unsuccessful for Atlanta Reign on this map in particular. I want to say it was one of their lowest win rates when it came to hybrid, but just this random headshot is something you have to fear when it comes to Hanzo, especially and Lip on it. The immortality from Landon just bought them time. Dragon Strike to lock London in the fight. Actually, gobbles up Hottie, so you take those kills where you can. And then the Ant Matrix from Landon to just try to stop the pain train that isn't Landon. It's not going to work out, as Atlanta even still have stuff left in the tank for the point B cap.
Oh yeah, the bad news just keeps on coming for Hardy, because now Stalker has a Blizzard, and in this matchup, the Blizzard is the kill Rein tool. And to answer this, you need a sound barrier and you need an immortality field. London only has one of those, and Hardy can't even try to slam his way out of it. What is this early wall here? Nice engage.
Nice Ant Matrix too, just to get any picks, and this Blizzard is a Blizzard of all time. What are we cooking? Oh man. Maybe it's one of those swap ultimates. I don't know, but yeah, it's a 2v5, and they got kind of rolled by the Ant Matrix before they even had that plan in mind. So anyway, Atlanta have 5 minutes for C.
Hawk's looking clean on the Ram. And the skin's looking clean as well. Pick it up at the Overwatch League store now, I think for only 150 DAO tokens. Got my corporate responsibilities in, let's go. Hattie's got a slam here. Remember that the Ramatra's shield is very inconsistent in terms of blocking these. It'd be very impressive to see an actual slam block.
Okay, Blizzard, pretty deep into the point. Oh, Deadeye. Sparker said, get away from me. Atlanta Reign, do respect that. Oh, big man Ramatra. Here to give you a backhand, and oh, the annihilation! London head for the hills. They don't want to get staggered anymore. The card's about to get to the end. Backbone contest at the last second. Now Hottie's got the sound barrier. They got room to work with, and ultimates to spare. Sound barrier, shatter, and Matrix Tennessee 9. Hadi's off pinning somebody!
Oh, yeah. Hadi sent out the slam. It only caught Fielder in the back, and Hadi was like, well, someone's got to kill him. Seem fitting it be me. And just runs it down with the charge. Honestly, that third point was never going to work out for London Spitfire anyway, and I'll tell you why. 3 letters, LIP, up on the high ground. Who's going to be able to actually challenge that Hanzo as he plays the off angle, sneaks in behind the shield, and finds easily accurate arrows onto the squishy members of London Spitfire? They've been absolutely thrown through a loop here by the Hawk Ramatra. The Ramatra should be taking seemingly a lot more damage, but I don't think we've really seen Hawk die yet. London Spitfire, their front-loaded damage here with the Cassidy should be eviscerating this guy.
Yeah, Lip, I mean, already started off with this headshot. Then the Dragon Strike as London get around the corner also ends up killing Hadi. So you just blow your whole chance of having a recontest because of this. And then Atlanta Reign used the Ant Matrix after this fight to just guarantee the point B. The cycling of Atlanta's ultimates have been beautiful to watch. And it shows also how snowballable, if that's even a word, of how King's Row is. Of just once you win one fight, it's much easier to win the next consecutive fights after that. It's much, much more difficult to stop the train once it's begun. And Hawk's flexibility of being able to power block on the Ramatra and still keep going shows how it's another version of a brawl that you can run and is very viable.
Alright, so the tempo tank, as Ramatra is known, might be at a slight disadvantage here on the defense. Is going to be less able to control how the fight goes down due to London being able to pressure the point with their movements, and that seems like what Hadi's doing at the moment. I'm happy to see Backbone have swapped onto the Hanzo, but now you're actually missing out on the Mei, and I think that you really need the Mei to still have this melee tank dynamic.
Okay!
What?
Okay, Lip! Pop off, King! Every time I get a Hanzo in my game, I'm quivered in my boots. Either these headshots just catch you off guard every single time, and onto Landon, one of the most important people you need on London. That's tough.
Notorious LIP coming in big again today, and I really do think that London Spitfire could have been using that Mei to try and constrain the rushes here. It feels pretty free for Lip, and well, the freedom only gets more and more.
And I think there are some angles that Backbone can take. It's just the issue is intelligence, is vision, not intelligence like brain, but just intel of trying to use the, maybe a bit of that too, but trying to get on top of this roof that you see on Lip's right is where Hanzo's on the offense want to begin. Or even if you can go to the top right, just going through the right staircase can be an option too. But Lip knows where you're going to set up, and he knows where you are right now. The Dragon Strike behind London. As they're just trying to have a stable push, at least Backbone was able to have a response. Gives London a chance to start going towards the point. They have the Dragon Strike just to seal up the area, but they had no idea Atlanta were, I guess, still on the point. They thought they had retreated, so Stalker throws a Blizzard inside of Hotel where London were. Just a lack of scouting from London truly goofied that fight.
Truly, it is a tempo moment here. Hawk solo, just relying on the loser heals. Hawk actually, a bit of a dropped ball for London Spitfire. Was dead to rights, caught with an amplification matrix, gets out with 1 HP and catches a Mega. Now Hawk able to just contest this for a while longer. He's got an armor refresh here from the Annihilation as well once Hadi's shield breaks.
You got the Ant Matrix 2 from Atlanta Reign that's just keeping, it's actually all the way at the back of the point, so London can play around the statue and be out of its line of sight. I wonder at what point is Backbone going to want to take it off and go through the Hotel. I'm imagining he's on this back right side, but you need these first picks. Just the damage into Hawk might not be enough, but got to pick on the Stalker. Shatter from Hadi gets a couple down. Soundmere from Chio. You thought it would have saved Hawk, but Fielder didn't do enough to keep that tank sustained. London will get the second tick, and with that late pick on the Lip, should be enough to get the cart going.
Front-loaded damage here seems to be working out in terms of, like, they're not playing as much utility with the Mei to try and constrain Hawk's maneuvers, but what it does mean is that when Fielder is concentrated on healing Hawk, the healing often isn't enough just due to the concentration of fires. We see Hawk die through that sound barrier. Another Annihilation, actually. Did Hawk not pop the Annihilation in that fight? It looked like he did, but maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I saw it in a dream.
It's glowing.
What am I witnessing here?
A dragon. and Hawk isolated away from everyone, but I'm surprised that London just don't want to converge on Hawk while he's isolated, maybe worried about this annihilation like you said, and Lip gets picked off. He couldn't jump around the library corner in time, and the annihilation just wasted, just didn't have enough support. Might have been even cut off from his supports because of the cart positioning. So a flocked fight from Atlanta gives London a chance to get closer to point B.
Yeah, Hawk definitely probably could have just had this whole team disengaged there and take a more preferential fight, jumping into the middle of 5 people with Annihilation. While in Ranked it's good, in Owl is bad, because you can only block in one direction, Lemon, and people are going to get around you, surround you, and do the damage to take you down. The burn will be easy as Sparker starts to channel the Deadeye to buy some space for this card to roll on up.
I think it was a little early, but around the corner is Atlanta, ready to pop the Ant Matrix. Take a look at Fielder. The surprise factor is big, but they know it's coming. And there it is. London, they try to disperse, but still facing it. Hottie takes a headshot, shield busted. And London head for the hills, and where the cart is right now is really how Florida and Shock, how they struggled, especially Florida, how they lost this map, is how deep the cart was on this particular point. It's so tough unless you got a ton of ultimates, and at least London have that coming soon.
Yeah, that ultimate cycle is about to come in. However, how do you save Hardy from the blizzard? Chio being down doesn't mean that Hawk might have to preemptively pop a Nemesis for me to actually be able to make an engage happen, though at the moment it's all about saving the space and trying to play the time.
Around the corner there is Hawk. Stalker just popping the blizzard to protect him. Some amazing peel is coming out, but you need to remove London from this card. It's meters away. And Lip is definitely showing that he's the better Hanzo here, just constantly getting picks for his team. And eventually, now point B is capped, and every stagger here will matter as Atlanta just hope to conserve their own lives. And maybe Stalker even still committed as he pops a wall behind Hottie, but that was just a distraction.
I mean, a lot of that came down to a nice little play from Admiral, booping Hawk into the Dragon Strike. Can't block that as it is all-encompassing where the damage comes from. Lip is going to be a little bit less safe on the high ground here as well, but who needs high ground when you've got double damage coming out from the Ant Matrix? London, though, you can tell how experienced they are at this wine comp. It's a clean disengage. Why are they peeking that?
Dragon Strike just to cut off Hottie's route of escape. They're just bullying the guy. London will have to reset now, and Silver Lining is Fielder and Lip used ult, so London can at least work on the shatters. Nothing much to block it.
Yeah, not too much to block it at all, and honestly, if you can force out Hawk's cooldowns and you have Shatter, Hawk is going to have to continually cede space away for free, and if you can get that space for free, you can get that push for free, and you can try and turn this into a one-fight scenario.
Just obviously the elephant in this room is how big the gap is in time banks. 433 to 114 if London even finish. They have to do it as quick as possible. Hottie Shatter only gets Hawk. Good ice block from Stalker to avoid it. Dragon Strike from Backbone to keep Atlanta trapped in as they re-engage now with the sound barrier of Chio. Trying to collapse on the Hottie while the shield is low. Deadeye from Sparker will force Atlanta back. It's a chess match between the two. Annihilation from Hawk. He's going in at 40 HP. That's so greedy. The Ant Matrix from Landon in his face did not help either, as the sound beer from Admiral is the final nail in the coffin. They can live through this blizzard that was successfully dropped by Stalker. So the push will have to take a few more seconds for London. But somehow, with the Lip swap to Widow and also Fielder at the back corner, they got some necessary picks to possibly salvage this defense for Atlanta. As it's only Hawk and I think Fielder left, and they clutched up.
Hawk Fist is crazy, comes back as fast as you want with the combination of slam and punch, and then Fielder gets a clutch immortality field as well to allow him to just brawl out, not worrying for his life. If it's going to be capped, Lemon, it's going to be capped in overtime. The best they can hope for is a draw, but they're trying to avoid the loss.
Hottie will at least be on the car, but he was all by himself. Look at Landon back there. He got left behind. Oh, that disgusting fadeaway from Lip's headshot there. Woo! Well, that was a quick one. Atlanta Raid take the series.
That was a quick one, and I think we saw a couple of holes in London's strategic depth there. I think they definitely could have used a Mei to try and control the Ramatra as well, and sticking to the Mei with the Cassidy, while it did provide a lot of damage onto the Ramattra, without having a Mei Hanzo, the Hanzo couldn't really force out Fielder from those angles where he could just freely heal the Ram and keep Hawk in those fights to allow for space and time, crucially, for Lip to find the headshots that were needed.
I gotta say that Blizzard at the end from Stalker sure helped out, because if he didn't drop that, I wasn't sure that Atlanta were even gonna have a recontest, because I think that zoned off London. Then I think Atlanta had one last person contesting somewhere. It was hard to see with all the dead people and corpses on the cart. But you know, because Stalker is just that cool and fragged out of his mind, we're gonna give him player of the match. Stalker has done it again, really shined bright. Pulse bombs made Hottie's life hell on Ilios. And then later on, I mean, the Mei stopped everything that Hottie and friends had cooked up on King's Row.
Yeah, Stalker's mission statement today was make Caddy not have fun playing Overwatch, and I think that Stalker achieved that very well. And there's a reason why we hyped up Stalker coming into this series. When it comes to the Tracer duels, they're one of the most important, consistent, meta-defining hero interactions you'll see across almost all Overwatch metas. And having someone as crazy as Stalker ready to do that, especially in clutch situations like the one on your screen right now, is super important for a team that wants to make a deep run towards the finals like Atlanta.
47 limbs? That is crazy. Stalker had a performance of a lifetime just now, and that he just made it look like target practice. As even London, I mean, they just got dismantled using the dive on Ilios. The Brawl, which you thought was gonna be hyped up as their hometown. Yeah, they got as far as they could, but Hottie wanted to be a lot more aggressive and just didn't have the resources to pull it off. And when he was either isolated by a Dragon Strike or all the damage was focused on him. They know Hottie is a linchpin to the London Spitfire, and they proved how lost London looked without him.
Yeah, this might be the first iteration we see of a split down the middle between main tank players in Overwatch 2 and off-tank players in Overwatch 2. Which side of the Rhine and Ramattra debate they fall upon. We're looking particularly over to teams like Vancouver Titans here. Like, would Punk prefer to play for Ramattra over the Reinhardt? And how will this sort of dichotomy of the brawl tank comps define a team's identity here in the Pro-Am meta?
Well, in Atlanta's group, I just have to see. They're obviously the big favorites. Atlanta, London, Valiant, Saints, and Vegas. Will the Saints, I mean, kind of the most hyped up contenders team, be able to take one of the spots from a team like London, who obviously didn't look great here, but you're facing off against the favorites of the entire league? We got so many more, not Pro-Am, but at least Pro-Am matches around the corner. So we'll see you guys on the other side of this break.
Reign making quick work of the London Spitfire, taking this 2-0 with not much resistance coming out of the London Spitfire. Zoe here, joined by Danny as well as Costa for our game break. Let's quickly break down what we just saw happening. I mean, the Atlanta Reign came into this one as the clear favorite, and they showed us why.
Were they?
Yeah.
I guess they were the favorites, but for me, I think before watching this match, I thought London had the upper hand, just because they've been with the same players for over a year now, and so I think they had the upper hand when it came to team synergy and teamwork. I still am. I'm still a London believer, but this time around it just wasn't enough. I think everyone on the Atlanta Reign team just looked too good. I think Hawk on that Ramatra was amazing. Donghak, I think, was my first time seeing him. He was very impressive as well. And Lip, let's not forget about that guy. What a sexy dude.
This is London's power of friendship, and this is the Atlanta Rangers going through with raw mechanics and just crushing that, because that's kind of what happened, right? Like London Spitfire, they come in, try to play the game that they did last year. They played a little bit of Winston, they played the Ryan Brawl, and honestly, Atlanta Reign just dismantled them at every corner. We saw the Wrecking Ball come out from Donghak. We knew that was going to be a favorite of his. Very good at it. Even played a little bit of Winston. We got some look at Lip Sombra, which is just as good as ever, but he actually hit EMPs, which is nice to see for Lip. But then we got the answer to the question as well, right? Of the Ramatra of Hawk coming in to face the Reinhardt of Hardy. We were speculating about it. We weren't sure how it was going to come out. But at the end of the day, Atlanta Reign and Hawk wins that one for Team Ramatra.
Yeah, let's actually take a look at some of those plays from Hawk on that Ramatra. We're finally seeing him in action, like some longer gameplay of Ramatra here for the first time ever this season. Hawk coming out of that Ramatra. Do you think that was just maybe a product of them knowing that they have the upper hand already and they might as well just try it out? Or was that a specific game plan coming into this?
I think it's just one of those things that they're confident. Donghak isn't known for his Reinhardt either. Maybe they're not confident in that matchup. Hawk doesn't want to go the Ryan to Ryan. He just thinks if you play that Ramatra and you know how to play against the Reinhardt, you can sort of force the London Spitfire off balance, and you could see that difference. Backbone, I almost called it Bone Back. Backbone actually really struggled and it even switched off of that Mei, and that just gave so much freedom. You can't let Lip just shoot free on that Hanzo. He went absolutely crazy. Stalker also taking that space, having a great match, going player of the match. You can just see Atlanta Reign is really firing on all cylinders and does look like that top one team that Leg Day was talking about before this match.
Absolutely. Do you think it was also just a compositional mismatch? Do you think the London Spitfire could have maybe done some compositional changes there?
I don't know. For me personally, I think it's difficult to know. Yeah, the reality is we don't know the answer to that. This is the first time at the professional level. We saw it a little bit in the shock match that we've seen the Reinhardt versus Ramatra head to head. We haven't really got a clear-cut answer of which one is better. Obviously, the Annihilation is a great ultimate, but now it doesn't last forever and you can just stand there with your block up forever. It loses a little bit of its functionality, and while Reinhardt has a great shatter opportunity because Ramatra doesn't have a shield, so it's about playing around it, and I think we'll get more answers to this question as the Pro-Am goes on.
Now, Stalker, definitely a player which was highlighted at the very end of that match, and for good reason. I mean, he was just fragging out, Danny. That guy was insane.
He definitely was, and it was very deserving of him to get the player of the match. So I think is it time to get the interview started? So
it is. Yeah, let's do it. Let's chat.
All right, we got Stalker next to me. Hi, Stalker. Can you hear me? 자, 일단 인터뷰 시작하기 전에 들리시죠? 잘 들리시나요?
네.
네, 알겠습니다. All right, let's just jump right into the interview. So, I mean, this match against the London Spitfire, it wasn't close. I think you guys dominated the series, and you guys looked phenomenal. So, going into today's match, what was the Atlanta Reign's game plan? 자, 첫 번째 질문은 오늘 경기, 런던과의 경기가 어떻게 보면 굉장히 좀 쉬운 경기였던 것 같아요. 아틀란타 쪽에서 보면은 이번 경기에 들어오면서 좀 어떤 전략을 가지고 들어오셨습니까?
전략을 준비했다기보다 그냥 잘 하는 거 이제 각자 하나씩 있으니까 그거 그대로 쓴 것 같습니다.
I can't really talk much about the strategy-wise, but I mean, everyone has their specific role in our team and in our composition. So I think we fulfilled our role in a very good way. So I think that is how we got the win against the London Spitfire. My second question for you, Stalker, is of course you were with the Seoul Dynasty last year, and now you moved on to a new team, new home, Atlanta Reign. So how has the transition been for you? 자, 작년에는 스토커 선수가 이제 서울 다이너스티와 같이 있었지만 이번 년은 새로운 이제 어떻게 보면 팀을 찾았는데요. 아틀란타로 오시게 되셨는데 서울에서 어떻게 보면 아틀란타 좀 오는 과정 좀 어떠셨나요?
그냥 제안을 이제 받아서 좋은 기회인 것 같아가지고 알겠다고 하고 왔습니다. 그냥
I mean, I did get the offer. 쉽게 오셨다고요?
네, 뭐 딱히 뭐 막히는 거 없이 순조롭게 진행이 됐어요.
All right. There wasn't actually any difficulties at all. I got a good offer, so I thought this was a good chance for me to find a new team. So I took the offer, and everything just sort of went smoothly for me to transition into the Atlanta Reign. All right, that is it for the interview, Stalker. Thank you so much for your time. Again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 인터뷰 감사드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 스토커 선수, 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
You know, the almost lack of emotions on his face makes him even more scary. I'm not gonna lie. Just like, yeah, it was not a big deal. We just absolutely crushed him.
He tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
You just don't know. No, I love it. I love it. It's edgy. That's very Atlanta Reign of him. Now we are heading into our third match of the day, and that means we finally get to see our first contenders, Team Trick Room. They placed second in the qualifiers in the NA region, and they will go up first against the San Francisco Shock. Now, with what we know about the San Francisco Shock after having seen them already, where do we see them, in this very matchup? Do you think that could leave some room for Trick Room to potentially upset?
Potentially, as you said, we just saw a very weakened San Francisco Shock against the Florida Mayhem. But here's the thing about this matchup: is San Francisco Shock against the Florida Mayhem. That was really someone playing Winston, leading the charge and running them down, making the San Francisco Shock feel uncomfortable. Trick Room as a team don't like to play that Winston as much. If anything, when they play the dive, Infected wants to move over to that Wrecking Ball. So I would expect them to either play aggressively with that ball or play that brawl style with the Reinhardt. And I don't know how that's going to work against the San Francisco Shock because, as we said, we have no context of how good this Shock roster is right now. But you're having a look here at the Trick Room opening roster. We got a bunch of great players, making their first debuts on the Overwatch League stage. Pummy, Boat, Infected, Hanbei, and Magic Maple. These guys are great players who've been in the North American contender scene, and I'm excited to see these guys get their shot.
Yeah, and we did get to see on the Shock lineup here, at least for the first map. We do have Max back in, Leg Day and Lemon. You weren't massive fans of the Max swap in their first match. How are we feeling about this one? Is this the right play?
You first.
Yeah, it depends on if they actually want to. It depends if they actually want to play an off tank. I'm not going to lie. The Max swap is good if you want to play what Max is good at. But if you're going to bring in Max to play more Winston when you have Junbin on this roster, I don't think it makes much sense, to be honest. However, this could be a whole different kettle of fish. The coordination we saw from Mayhem, the understanding of these compositions seemed to be pretty fantastic, and also they were offered a lot of mistakes to capitalize upon, which was what we talked about after that match, proper just sliding in a lot. That needs to have been fixed in this break here, and maybe Max is going to be able to do a little bit more to actually gain the space for Proper on a main tank, so it Proper doesn't feel the need to actually claim it viciously with the slide.
Yeah, a few things there is that I feel like the Shock could also be incorporating Max just to get some playtime. I don't know, at what level are the Shock taking the Pro-Am seriously when maybe their sights are more set on their performance in the league and getting as much playtime to these rookies as possible. I do agree that I'd love to see a Sombra Tracer from Heesang and Proper. I think that would bode better for at least playing around Junbin or Max's Winston. I feel like Proper gets caught out, or he almost wants to play like a Tracer the way he's offensively diving in on the Sojourn, and he's not getting those first picks, you know, occasionally, but we have such high expectations for Proper that this more quiet performance is uncharacteristic. But we knew that the Shock were going to have a slow start. It's just about when that start is going to happen.
Yeah. Well put.
And I think it's a great point you're making there about like how serious are they taking a pro-am currently, or is this just like some practice time for everyone? That said, though, I do feel like there's some pride on the line as well, because now they're going up against a contenders team. I'm pretty sure none of the OWL teams wants to have that on their resume, that they went down as the first OWL team against a contenders team. So let's see if they have the upper hand or not. Lemon Leg, it's all yours.
This is going to be a good one. Our first contenders showing Trick Room. A lot of hype behind this team because just there wasn't big expectations for Trick Room when it came to contenders. He actually had a much higher placing than a lot of the community expected. They went all the way to the finals of the Pro-Am and lost 4-2 to the Saints. And a lot of Trick Room's identity is around Infected's Hammond.
Yeah, Infected's Hammond is absolutely fantastic. And Lemon, I'm pretty sure that Shock are going to be putting a lot of effort into this particular matchup to not lose to the up-and-coming Dark Horse Contenders team, because, you know what, I'm sure that all of the fans of San Francisco Shock on Twitter would have some very reasonable and measured responses to that set of events if it were to occur. I particularly am looking forward to seeing Pummy here. We're going over to Antarctica, and that means we're likely going to be seeing Pummy the GOAT on Bastion. You all saw his picture, you saw him looking down at everyone who was staring upon his visage, and that's because Pummy #1, baby. And honestly, Proper might be a fraud in this lobby. Sorry, I can't finish it. Proper showed off a little bit of the Bastion earlier.
Oh, they did him dirty with the contenders Trick Room at the top. Oh, damn. Also, we'll start on labs. It is. We'll see how tricky they will be, but we're starting off on labs, which is popular for Brawl especially. It's a very narrow section of the map, not a ton of cover. Everyone's doing the team pose. You gotta take a screenshot for the socials in your first kind of semi-owl match. But yeah, Brawl versus sort of Brawl from the Shock.
Yeah, more of a spammy brawl from the Shock, though they do still have Velucio to make sure that they can maneuver Max around. The question is, will Boats be able to go up against Heesang and check him here? Because Boats' headshots are what's going to keep Heesang honest on these flanks. If not, Heesang's going to get easy access to Hanbei, and it's going to be over. So there's a huge amount of weight on this young player's shoulders.
I know that even the contenders casters were telling me that Trick Room's Brawl is also equally as strong, and just the flexibility to be able to play ball is sort of unheard of as one of the most difficult tanks to master. It's a quick tap. Surprised that Shock didn't want to have maybe Vindime or even Heesang contest. The whole point of having mobile characters is to contest and be around. But Trick Room gets to disengage from this. They are actually quite low. Shield's starting to break too. Is Infected wants to keep his toes. Them grippers on the point did not flip it over. Got real close for the Shock to do so, as they also have to keep an eye on when this damn Bastion of Pummy is going to go into tank configuration. That is the major cooldown, as that's a major ultimate from Heesang. Pulse Bomb's Magic Mate Ball before a Sound Barrier could be generated. As the Ant Matrix in the middle of the point's not going to help Hanbei and the friends of Trick Room too much, but 40% is a good start.
And this is what we talked about when it comes to the key to victory here for San Francisco Shock. Heesang needs to remain uncontested or outmaneuver Boat and get access to that backline. Magic Mate Ball felt the pain of what a Heesang tier Tracer in the backline feels like. And now San Francisco Shock can actually do a lot to control the positioning of Trick Room using the Dragon Strike, which, while it's not deadly in its own right, being able to control the speed of engagements and disengagements is a major power play against a roster that wants to stack as tightly as Trick Room.
Trick Room just running it down. They had the initial May wall behind Max, and he's using his power block really well, and now he has the Annihilation! Gets his revenge on Trick Room! As the Sound Barrier, I don't even know if it came out either way, they all got disintegrated by Max.
Oh yeah, Max and Proper together doing a huge amount of damage through their ultimates, and now this has cycled over to Finn having access to the Nano Boost. And I wouldn't even mind seeing the Nano Boost move over to Heesang here if need be to make a deep dive if San Francisco Shock start to lose a huge amount of positioning. Usually you might be using it though as more of an anti-damage measure to make sure that Max can get healed up to full if he ends up in a more precarious position without Nemesis form.
Oh, Pulse, hello, and goodbye. Magic 8 Ball doing the respawn simulator. Man, Shock just tearing them apart before Trick Room could even think twice about it. Now it's 70% plus for Shock, coming down to last fight for Labs.
Real good day for Heesang. 2 pulse bombs, 2 Lucio kills, and once you lose access to that speed boost, Infected is a sitting duck because Max can run rings around him with a Nemesis form speed. Still Infected. With the slam here, it's going to be a duel of that. Oh, 5-man anti! That's bloody brutal, Lemon!
Just to distract them a little bit. As Infected just got slept as he was jumping down and opens up vulnerabilities into Trick Room. Headshot from Proper to pick off Hanbei. He's got a nano on a Proper, Sounder from Vindime. This was last fight in Trick Room. They couldn't even fight on their terms. They didn't even see another person before they lost their main support. 100 to 40 is a huge start for Shock and a big turnaround after how Florida's match went.
Oh yeah, big turnarounds. Shock decided, okay, no more games. You've had the loss out of us. And that's all you're going to get. Heesang, I've got to sing the praises again. Like, that comp, it falls apart if Heesang pops off, and Heesang popped off. The lack of ability to really duel Heesang was super important. And it also meant that, like, you were relying on Mateball to be the one to duel the Tracer, because no one else is going to be looking around to deal with that. You need a huge amount of boats focus to be on Max to try and constrain him. You're usually going to have Pummy looking at the tank as well. So Mateball's ability to try and take those duels at the moment seems a little bit lacking, dying to a lot of pulse bombs.
Brawl returns for that high ground control, and Pummy, who usually likes to run a lot of Cassidy, sometimes on the Bastion, rolls up with the tank configuration, doesn't even slow down, even through the anti-grenade of Finn. Now it's time for the clapback. Max, in his form, almost gets charged down by Infected, who went way too deep, really thought he was going to get that pin, somehow survives. We'll get Hanbei just that much closer to the Ant Matrix. Most definitely going to be the first ultimate that you see. As Shock overtake the high ground, see if they can put Proper in a good position, as Trick Room gave up that bridge to go for the capture. And that's the presence of the point I was hoping to see from the Shock, having Heesang and Vindime just deny the cap. Maywall behind Max as he gets torn apart by the Bastion tank configuration. And Finn finds himself very low, and that'll be the fight, and Trick Room will cap first.
Proper, not done fighting just yet though. There's still enough healing from Vindame to take these sporadic. Look at the surrounds! Infected can't shield everything himself. And so San Francisco Shock, this is literally just mechanics and ego. And you know what? Mechanics and ego are enough when you're the MVP, the Rookie of the Year, and the Roll Star, baby. San Francisco Shock say we refuse to yield. And now contenders Trick Room, they have to try and attack into a Dragon Strike through these narrow corridors. And we all know how painful that can be.